In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I got an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Jordan Tennenbaum, and he is hailing over from the folks at Slim.AI. And essentially, if you head over to Slim.AI, you will see that they build secure containers and they do so much faster. So basically, we want to deep dive into how they secure software supply chain for their clients, and just all around learn what Slim AI is all about, but also how Jordan is thinking about growth for the company. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's really great to be here, Lucas. It's an honor. Really excited to chat with you and tell you guys a little bit about myself and Slim AI. Just to let you know, I'm the social media manager and content manager at Slim AI, handling all things content and of course social media related. So I'm big on the growth side of things, and exactly as Lucas said, we really help developers ship secure containers to production at a much faster rate. But I know we're going to get into those questions more specifically about that, so I'll leave it at a brief intro for now.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, maybe let's deep dive just from the get-go, because give us a 360 overview. What does the product do? Who does it serve? And what problems are being solved?
Sure, absolutely. So essentially at Slim AI, what we do is we help developers harden their containers. Our main goal is to help them essentially shrink their attack surface and, like I said, be able to ship secure software faster. So we really want developers to essentially have the ability to easily produce safe applications at scale using software, containers, and images that we help them build. And yeah, essentially a lot of companies, when they build things, they don't have supply chain security ingrained from the get-go. It's often kind of an afterthought that has to be solved later and can lead to a whole bunch of problems, challenges, hacks, information being lost. And we really want to mitigate that. Essentially, when developers are building, have them implement security best practices into their containers, images, and applications so that down the line they can avoid things like that. So really, like I said, we want to just help developers build really safe software and do it efficiently and without challenges.
Now, what types of organizations would use Slim AI? Maybe characterize. Are we talking enterprise? Are we talking, even smaller organizations? Or is it purely software businesses? Like, tell us, who's an ideal fitting client?
Sure. So, definitely an enterprise, like a security company. We've been talking to quite a few of them recently. I think that would probably be a really good fit. Granted, we have a very small sales team that I'm definitely not a part of, and the CEOs and the higher ups are definitely kind of making a lot of those decisions. But yeah, I think that's the case.
Very good. Now, let's talk a bit about the website, right? Because obviously, you're basically working on social media content marketing. So maybe tell us a little bit about the journey that you see, right, from a social media and content marketing angle, on how people learn about Slim AI. What's the journey that they're going through? What are sort of the channels that you guys are exploring?
So I'll talk specifically from social media because that's kind of my strongest suite, or my strongest area of expertise. But what I really like to do is like use tools like LinkedIn and Twitter, Quora, Stack Overflow, etc., to like essentially create bonds and like not friendships. That's kind of corny, but introduce Slim AI and or Docker Slim to developers. I constantly throughout the day I'm connecting with people, liking, commenting, engaging on posts that are kind of within the sphere of technology that I'm working in. And it's my goal just to make people aware of not only the company, but like make it so that they know that there's a personality behind it. And that personality is me. So it can be a little intimidating to come to a company or to, especially as a developer or someone, to say like, hey, like I want to try out this whole piece of software. I'd rather have kind of like use my role to build relationships with people to get them excited about the product and to get not only to maybe bring them in, but have them help me promote it. So I share a post. Now someone who I've interacted with shares a post about my company, and now I've expanded it to their network of 1,000 plus, connections or followers or however you have it. And so on the sales side, I don't want to say like we're doing XYZ and this and that, but I mean, beyond marketing, beyond conferences, the way that I look at it is I'm trying to fill the top of the funnel by building like facilitating a really interesting open source community, I guess. So that's kind of where I come at it, from building customers and getting them interested.
And what's your perspective? Like traffic that is coming from social to the website, like they obviously in the beginning of the journey typically because they're exploring your content. Like, is there something that you think or that you've learned or maybe that you think marketers should keep in mind when they try to convert or win over social traffic on their website? Something they should keep in mind.
I think you need something. Well, it depends on who you're trying to convert. If you're trying to convert developers like us, you need something that developers like, whether that's an example of what they could do, a sandbox, a portal where they can log in and play around with the tool. I just think we've seen like open source be so prolific that, I mean, even today, I wanted to make a edit of a video and I just typed in video editor. I found an open source software and I put 3 clips together and I loved it. I don't want to pay for that. I don't, even though that's such a minor thing. Developers are kind of the same way, and they want the opportunity to go in, check it out themselves, play with the tool, see what it's like, and then I want them to become an internal like champion or advocate and bring it to their higher up and be like, hey, we should check this out. Let's talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of the way I go about it.
Very cool. Now back to the social, like a lot of companies obviously trying to they try to somehow drum up some interest, some engagement on social. A lot of companies are not successful in doing that because I don't know, I guess people like people a lot, and hence a lot of individuals are driving their social interactions. What is a couple of things that you've learned over the last couple of years that maybe sort of like guidelines or principles that should be important if you're trying to drive social growth for an organization?
I think the first thing you hit the nail on the head is include people. Hey, this was our team at the conference. Hey, this was us going out to dinner at a team event. This was us connecting with these 3 people from company XYZ at a conference or something. Who cares what it is? But essentially not using people, that sounds inappropriate, but including people in your post, because people like, oh, I remember working with XYZ at this company. That's so cool that they're doing that. And that's how you get people engaged. I think beyond that, you really, I kind of call it the Reddit rule, and it's like only good content gets upvoted. That's like, there's never really any bad content that's upvoted on Reddit, especially if you care about that community. And so posting things that people like, for example, Martin Winpress, one of our awesome community folks and developers over here, wrote an article about how to run Docker on a Raspberry Pi. And that hit like 500 likes in a day or so. And I mean, the content was fine. The article was great work, Martin. But the actual like what the article was about, like Docker and Raspberry Pi for developers, that just struck a chord. And it's challenging to find that, but I think 50% of it is that. The other 50% is like having a unique and interesting voice. I'm definitely one of the younger folks in maybe not besides from sales and BDR, but kind of like in the tech sphere. I'm under 30. And so I feel like I have like a really good, I've been using social media since I was in high school, essentially. I have a really good feel on like the culture of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people don't understand that it's weird. It's an internet culture, but I mean, I good or bad, I've been a part of it for 10, 15 years at this point. So I think the more you can understand that, the better. And I think the companies that understand that have the most effective content because they have not only the best content, but the best voice talking about it. And so, you need to have quality, but you need to talk about it in a really engaging way that speaks to the people you're advertising to, essentially.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about yourself and your journey as a marketer. I would be curious, where do you personally like to educate yourself about social media marketing or about the arena of social media marketing? I mean, is there any sort of like resources, go-to places, communities that you personally enjoy a lot?
I mean, Reddit's always a fantastic one. Quora and Stack Overflow are 2 others that I like, just really good places to ask. All 3 of those are great places to kind of ask questions. Obviously, Stack Overflow is a little more technical, so I'm not there all the time. But I mean, beyond that, man, I subscribe to so many different newsletters. Let me just look at my email right now. Unfortunately, I already read them all, but I mean, there's Social Media Today. There's, man, if I look through all of them, I probably get 10 or 15 a day. And I try to read through as many as those that I can. Apologies, I don't remember them off the top of my head, but those are really good sources. I think sitting in on conferences, or excuse me, not conferences, but talks at conferences that are really specific to what I do. That's another way that I like to do it. And beyond that, like I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn and Twitter, just like studying what people do and looking at what people do. And I think if you see successful people, it's really easy to learn and not copy, but like emulate what they're doing or put a twist on their formula to make it your own. And I think that's really important when it comes to those kinds of things.
Very cool. I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
All right, shoot them quick.
What is the last book that you read?
The Six Principles of Persuasion by Cialdini. It's the best book ever, and it's the only book I recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Besides Heart of Darkness. That's another good one.
Besides what?
Heart of Darkness. It's it's what Apocalypse Now was based off of, but it's a very different story.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role as a social marketer today?
Oh, there's tools that social media managers use to tag companies ahead of time, like to schedule their posts ahead of time. And LinkedIn does not release the API to tag individual people ahead of time. So very frequently when I have a post coming out at 6 a.m., like because of something that's 9 a.m. Eastern time, I have to wake up at 6 a.m., manually tag the person on LinkedIn, and then I can go back to bed. So LinkedIn, please open up your APIs. It would help so many people. I think beyond that, LinkedIn and Twitter need to 1,000,000% revamp their analytics section. It is AOL 1999-esque, and it is so challenging to try to understand and manipulate and gain insights from analytics from the two of the biggest platforms in the world that need that kind of thing. So I think if some updates there would be very helpful for my job.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Oh man. We had a really big conference in Vegas. I wasn't really nervous about the conference. I get a little anxious just about stuff sometimes. So I'd say that was probably it. But it ended up being great. I got to meet our CEOs and our CTO and some of our co-founders and some new folks. And it ended up being a really great experience. So while I was perhaps slightly nervous, first conference since COVID, essentially, I got over that fear real quick and kind of just got right back into the swing of things.
Nice. And for the very last question, I'd like to ask you to do a bit of time travel with me. Let's go back to the days of the University of Southern California, right? You're heading out of studies into the world of business and growth and business development. You were in that for a while as well. What's the one advice that you would give yourself for your journey in growth and marketing?
It's a really good question. I know you said the one piece, but I'm going to split this into a two-part. The first is start your social media, especially like LinkedIn and Twitter, like in high school, maybe college at the latest, and start building connections, start building your profile, start getting to know people. I definitely did that a little too late in life, and I'm regretting it. But I think especially if you want to go into social media management, if you can build your social media profile and have lots of credibility, it's just so much easier to transition into a role like that. I'd say the second thing, and I think a lot of people fall into this trap, and I definitely did, was wanting to get into the tech world and becoming an SDR. I have nothing against SDRs. I was an SDR for 7 to 8 years. I learned more than probably most people ever would about sales, technology, reaching out to people, connecting, conversing. But unless you are at a company with a very clear path to promotion, as in like they line it out for you during the interview, most likely you're going to be spinning your wheels and not really being able to get a lot of career traction. So while being an SDR can be a great way to break into the tech field, I think folks need to be very, very careful and be very, very diligent when doing it. Now, that being all said, being an SDR is a great way to transition into a social media role because you learn how to understand technology quickly, you learn how to talk about it quickly, you learn how to write about it in very short like emails are supposed to be 125 words, like Twitter is like 280 characters. So you really do gain a lot of experience. You gain confidence from talking to people, cold calling and things like that. So I guess those are my two pieces of advice: is start grinding on social media and just be careful about being an SDR and entering the tech world without checking the waters first.
Jordan, thanks a lot for joining Platform Presents today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lucas. This was awesome to be a part of.